everybody. Hope you're having a great day. So, first off, the super bet is over, right? So, how did you guys like that? I really, wait. There's been so many tournaments recently, but, no, that was my YouTube. But no, I haven't really seen a Magnus Nepo that I've been looking forward to. So I started to look into my own old databases and see if I could find a cool Magnus Carlsen Nepo. And I found some from when they were like babies, like under 12, under 14. And I kind of wanted to talk about them, but at the same time I was hoping to show something more recent. And there's so many draws, so I finally found one that was not a draw, and I really like this one. This one was actually a very pleasant one, not for Magnus, but this was, I believe, in London Classic, and I thought it was a cool one because we've already seen few games from London Classic earlier from actually Magnus, I believe, maybe last month. Yeah, we've been having a Magnus surge recently, but yeah. So if you didn't get a chance to, well, bet on if Magnus and Nepo can play together and Nepo can win, well, here's your bet. Fortunately, I kind of give it up, but we are gonna look at this game from Nepo's side. I'm usually a Magnus fan, but this game was too pretty. I can't just ignore how kind of cool this game was. So, yes, apology for the audio and the delay. I'm still on university campus and they have been doing constructions, which means sometimes the light goes off, sometimes the water goes off, sometimes the Wi-Fi goes off. It's more like a Russian roulette at this point. As I've never had all three of them go off at the same time, but yeah, a lot of fun. They have promised that they're gonna be done with it this week, at least with my part. At least there are no more fire alarms, so that's another fun part for me, because I've been dealing with morning fire alarms too at like 8 a.m., which is actually a good alarm system. If they could just be like for 5 minutes to make sure I'm awake and then go away, that would be perfect, but I don't think I can request that. Alright, so let's just get going with this game. And for those of you who are not very familiar here, we do go to Lichess after, well, I mean, we are on Lichess right now, but we do go to Lichess and Twitch after this hour, and we'll analyze your game. So if during this hour you kind of want to hear, ooh, lovely, you want to hear me talk and you want to play under there from Lichess or chess.com or wherever, feel free to have the link saved in the Lichess format and send it to us when we go to the Twitch. So, let's get going. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Was there any fun backstory to this one? Not to my knowledge, actually. This was London Classic 2017, and I believe this was the 8th round, so not the final round, but still, we all know how those tournaments can be super duper stressful. I actually think for London Classic 2017 I was already here, because that would be in December, right? I'm pretty sure that would be in December, so I was already here. So I think that's the one that Tanya was around, but I had finals. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tanya too. Alright, so yeah, we have this fun stuff going on. Okay, to be completely honest, I don't know how to feel about a move such as c3. I mean, I understand that d4 is about to come up and potentially, hopefully, e4 at some point might pop up, but I don't really know, like, this is more like a blitz move rather than like a real repertoire real move, right? Oh, well, thank you for the comment in the chat saying that the Reti opening is the most successful opening for white. That could be true, actually. I'm not so sure about high level, like to 27 plus, 2650 plus, but yeah, Reti is very tricky. So this is kind of like Magnus is white, and he's like, I'm kind of like inviting you to like a Slav with opposite colored moves. It's like a weird one. It's kind of tricky if you don't really know Slav as black, but black is the very experienced players, Nepo. So he kind of knows, right? That's like he can't really rely on the fact that oh maybe he doesn't know. So however, back in 2017, from what we looked, it's like a cool thing that's at least from 2007 2017 during the 10 years, Nepo hadn't really played Slav in like rated games, so it kind of made sense that Magnus went for this. But again, it could be a bluff, like you know how in poker you're like calling it. I actually don't play poker. Maybe I shouldn't be using that as a reference. Yeah, and you're like you want to be a tempo up. Sure, let's see how this love will go. Knight f6 is another idea that is very possible, and Magnus had played against, I believe, Jeffrey in the same year, and the game went along to get to like very normal positions, and I think Magnus won that game. I'm pretty sure he did. It was an Isle of Man. This game. Yeah, against Jeffrey, and Magnus was white. So Magnus had played this type of weird opening starter earlier. I apologize for the mic. I am not sure how to improve it. It's a decent quality mic. Could be better. So I'm not gonna say that's like a cool mic, but yeah, I don't know exactly what to do at the moment, but good news is that shortly after, I believe Friday actually, I'm gonna be streaming from the club, so there will definitely be better high quality, lower temperature for me, but hey, what to do. Alright, so no knight f6 in this game. Nepo just went ahead for the real deal, and now I kind of want to get you guys a little warmed up. Should we take it? Do you want to do exchange Slav style? Or if you don't want to take it, yeah. That could also be my laptop overheating. I'm gonna put the electronics away from the microphone too. But yeah, it's like you win some, you lose some. If I stay here, the microphone problem is a hit or miss. But if I go to the club, there is no cat, so yeah, we kind of do have to take. Well, let me rephrase. It's not that we have to take. We can easily get a knight out. We can just play e6. But taking is kind of, again, calling white's bluff. So we're getting to exchange Slav, and now we just simply develop, get the knights out. And this here is again another move that was so weird for me, and I can't really explain it any better than just saying it was weird. So here it is white's normally developing, right? And normal pawn structure, normal setting, normal everything. But what should black do? Normally, I would say maybe get the bishop out, maybe if there's gonna be like a knight b5, maybe play a6 to stop that. Those are the normal moves. Can you think of a little weird move? Thank you, chat. That's very sweet of you. I'm glad that there are more free time over the summer. Yep, bishop f5. I like bishop f5. So I'm not saying no to bishop f5, but bishop f5 is not the move that was played. Whoops. Manish? Oh yeah, have you seen this game? I mean, I'm sure most of us have seen this game because there was commentary. I'm pretty sure the club was doing commentary. So most of us have seen this game, but it's highly likely we don't remember it. That was a bad choice. Too much bubble. Whew. I have a thing for bubbly waters, and then every time I drink them, I'm like, never again. It really tickles. And then again, I do it within the next 5 minutes. So, yeah, I like this knight h5. Well, actually, I kind of like bishop f5. I think that's more my style. Or a6, kind of preventative, and then I'm gonna see how things go. But, well, I'm not challenging the world champion anytime soon. So, Nepo is the one who's challenging the world champion, and he went for knight h5. Yeah, so you gotta move this bishop. And now, this, again, I'm gonna ask you guys, do you think we should just bring this back, or should we just develop, oh, wrong piece, or should we just develop? What do you think about knight f6? Do you think knight f6 is cool, weird? Would you do it in the real game? Okay, I would do it in the real game, because against Magnus, the repetition, early repetition is not necessarily the worst thing, so I would do it, depending on the opponent. But do you think knight f6 is the move that the position needs? Ah, I kind of actually like, yeah, so that's the thing. I would want to develop. I would want to get the bishop out. The thing to consider about bishop f5 though is e4. That could get a little nasty. Because if you just take it, now d5. If you just take that, then takes over here, and this is actually clear advantage for white. So that's kind of what to be worried about bishop f5, is the ideas with e4. And even if you take it with the bishop, still take, and simply knight gets to g5, or even e5, that would work too. And black is having a lot of trouble developing, black is having trouble, getting his pieces out, so there's a lot of little issues like that. So if you want to not play, if you want to develop but not play knight f6, then you should go for e6 to make sure that you are still holding your center. And yeah, it's very important because like this position, bishop f5 looks kind of safe, right? Uh-oh, air conditioner. But now e4 is going to be quite problematic because, well, what are you gonna do after e4? You can't just not take it, and you can't just take it. Either way, you're in a pickle. And this is also presents a lot of new opportunities for white. Alright, so I'm glad we covered bishop f5. So you gotta either go for e6, blind the bishop, or get your knight back. What about bishop g4? You're not really threatening anything. What if I just go knight e5? If you take it, I'll just take that, and I could just poke your bishop away, and then e4s later on would come with tempo. There's ideas with g6. Look, I mean, I think it's doable, but I wouldn't exactly bring the knights. I would simply just get the bishop out and go for the pressure over here, and maybe bring my knight back to f6 if needed, or if I could go to f4, I would, and then jump back to e6. I think g6 is interesting. Yeah, g6, I would put it on the interesting pile. Better than bishop f5, definitely, and better than bishop g4. But e6 is more straightforward, and then knight f6 is another valid candidate, because if you just come back, okay, I could repeat, or I could just ignore the repetition and now do something like bishop f5 or a6 or one of these moves that's more like normal. I can easily do those. So, not knight f, if you don't want to play knight f6, e6 or g6 are your best bets. But after knight f6, trying to go for knight e4, maybe at least stopping e4, that's a big part of it, is good. And so in this game, Magnus simply went for e3, normal stuff. And I kind of feel like these bishops being blocked are not exactly pleasant, but you kind of gotta do it. Your bishop is already a little out, so you could do rook c1 ideas, but if we were to play e6, then I'm not sure what to do with the bishop. But if we were to play knight f5, white does have a very interesting... What do you think is the best move for white if we played this bishop f5, actually? So any suggestions on what white should do? White can't exactly do bishop d3, that's the plus of it, but white does have another pretty cool idea. Any suggestions from the chat? If someone is watching these later and you want to leave it in the comments too, not every time, but it would be cool. Like I'm gonna try my best to check the comments as well. Queen b3, interesting, but something as simple as knight e5. Or I might want to do stuff in the g file, push pawns there. If you take it, then this knight is just too weird, because you just came up there, went there, you come back, and then you gotta move it again, and this could fall, and this is too many knight moves, not worth it. And if you don't take it, then what are you gonna do? You have to deal with the possibilities of bishop b5, or even g4s in the close future. There's a lot of issues to deal with. So, not exactly worth it. Alright, let's go back. So after e3, e6 was played, normal stuff. Well, white got the bishop to the good place. Oh, the good place was actually a good TV show. If you're gonna try to binge something, the good place was good. I recommend it. Alright, what now? To be fair, if something like bishop b5 was played, we could simply do the bishop d7 and then just get bishop d6, and it's fine. There's not much happening here. You're gonna castle and start doing stuff in the queen side. It's both parties have decent chance. But what if bishop d3 now? What do we do? And yes, white might want to play e4, so should we care about it at the moment, or when it's played we're just gonna take it? We already have pawns and some control over the center, so we don't have to be too worried about it. So, black to move. What should we do? Probably get this bishop out, so what do you think? Oh, I gotta wait. Yeah, what's up? Well, why can't we just play bishop d6 now? Who's stopping us? Yeah, I feel like bishop d6 is a very logical move to just have, because a6 as like it starts to control the b5 square, so I understand that part of it, but he can just castle and immediately play e4 or knight e5 right now. So there is a few things that are unpleasant. So if bishop d6, if you were to do knight b5, I could simply just come to bishop b8 and castle, and shortly after just start kicking your knight, and I'm the one who wants to play e5s now, because you don't have e4 anymore. That's actually better for black. Yeah, this is definitely more pleasant for black if you play knight b5. I'm still gonna keep the control of this diagonal. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Patrick. Alright, so in the game, Magnus just went for e4. How do we feel about this? Scared? Happy? Ouchie? Positive feelings? Negative feelings? What do we have? Anybody? Yeah, I think e4 is, you kind of gotta do it, because if you don't play e4, you're gonna probably castle or play rook c1, and then you have to consider the issues that black could actually play e5. So you kind of have to be prepared for that. Yeah, so e4 was played, and then we gotta take it, because if we don't take it, e5 is coming up, we don't want to deal with that, and we can't exactly play e5 ourselves, because he takes over here, with knight also. Yeah, and this is not very pretty. Alright, so, e4, just take it, and then what do we do? Do we want to take that too? Or do we want to just move the bishop? Ah, good one, Adele. So manage, that is true. White does end up with an isolated pawn, but that's not the end of the world. Depending on the position, isolated pawns could actually be quite beneficial. So if, for example, one side has isolated pawns, that's something that's it's beneficial in the middle game. Mostly is beneficial in the middle game because it gets them the more like center. It gets them like the files that are between it, and like because the pawn is usually going to be in the center, the diagonals behind it, like the right now, like the h5 b1 diagonal is another one that's white actually owns basically. So it's not bad, but if we go to the end game, then this could become a target. Yeah, I like it. Let's just get the bishop out of the way. And if we took knight e4, that's okay, but you can't exactly castle right now because your king is too naked. And if you don't remember what naked is, I think last week or the week before that, we talked about the concept of naked that I created. The king is naked and lonely. So, can't have a naked king. Yeah, ha. It was funnier last time I said it. But yeah, so we don't necessarily want this king to be around here all lonely. Oh, that was a loud air conditioner. Oh my god. And so yeah, I think that's the best thing that's right now. Black has to deal with this little issues of the king. So has to bring up some coverage, has to bring up some, has to wear a mask. Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. So, we don't exactly want to have to deal with that. So, knight e7 is the best way to go if you end up in this position. And now you can castle, and now black has to deal with, well, let me ask you, bishop h7, good or bad? What do you think about this? Is it a good idea for white to take on the pawn on h7? Ooh, my teapot. I have this little cute, I had this little cute teapot, and I washed it, and I still have no idea how, but it broke. So I Amazoned another one, and I'm very careful not to break this one, because I like my teapots. But this one is too big. This is like twice the size of the last one I had. So, what do we think? Bishop h7, good or bad? Let me show you. Bishop h7, take, check, and now what do you think is the best move for black? To be fair, if you just go back, there is going to be queen h5 problems and cut bye-bye. Peter, it wasn't that expensive, I think. It was, I believe, $10, 11. It wasn't that horrible. Yeah, exactly. King g6. And no more funny business. And if queen g4, bam, f5. And if queen, and that kind of stops it all, and black has an extra piece. And you gotta move the queen, and my king can simply just try to run away that way. So, bishop h7, not a good idea, but white can try to prepare for it. White can try to go like queen c2, and then knight e5, and then make it a little harder for black to complete the development. Like if you move then yeah, you can't move the bishop, you can't exactly take over here because that's your good bishop. This is like, there's like, it's too just meh, like all like pushed together. We don't really want that. So if rook b8, that's another way to deal with it. Oh, fruit fly. Yeah. And something like knight e5 is also another way to consider, and white just feels more comfortable. So that's why we don't exactly want to take it over here. So if we don't take it, we're probably going to play this bishop e7, save the bishop, castle, castle, queen c2, and finally, another question for you guys. Should we do h6 or g6? What do you think? Which one? Which one do you think is, well, I was gonna say safer, but which one do you feel more comfortable with as black? Yeah, me too. I feel more comfortable with h6 as well, because if we were to play g6... Ooh, somebody subscribed somewhere. That's kind of fun. Aw, thank you for the subscriptions that I'm seeing on, I believe, YouTube. Thank you. Oh, another one. Lovely. So yeah, if we play this g6, the issue is, well, there are a bunch of issues, but one of the bigger issues is just rook d1. How do you want to develop? Let's say you just play normal moves, but this is too uncomfortable. Oh, that's a big squirrel on my patio. Yeah, this is just uncomfortable. You never know how to deal with this potential bishop h6, potential knight h5. There's just too much potential for opponents. Yeah, exactly. If I don't have to, I don't want to play this. So, h6 is the way to go. Rook d1, bishop d7. Now, can someone tell me what is wrong with knight d4? Can we play this knight d4? Do you feel comfortable with this? And while you do that, I'll tell you a tiny portion of what I'm watching right now. There was a really cute squirrel. I don't still know the difference between squirrel and chipmunk. I've been living here for 4 years. I still don't know it. But there is this really cute squirrel who just went right behind the window where Pishi's napping and just looked at Pishi, and Pishi's completely out of it. So Pishi is sunbathing slash napping, catnapping. Yeah, it's way too hot here. So His Majesty is just like, I'm out. But yeah, he didn't even wake up to trip at the squirrel. Alright, what's wrong with knight d4? Whoa, nobody told me what's wrong with knight d4. Alright, so the issue with knight d4 is that white can just take it, and this here, it's not exactly like the end of the world. You're not gonna lose material, but you're gonna lose a lot of tempo. Like bishop can just move away, and then this can happen, and this is very uncomfortable. I mean, white is still not winning. White has advantage, and white has initiative, and white has diagonal, and white has like this stuff on the king. But it's not the end of the world. Like if you wanted to eat that pawn and play a very defensive, very bleh kind of game, you can definitely do that, but I would not advise that. We care too much about piece activity to just lose it like that. So just bishop d7. You want to do rook c8 in the game. Magnus just played a chill move, rook c8, and he just played knight c3. Now, what do you think about this knight c3? Knight c3, definitely a good idea, but what do you think should happen? What do you think black should do now? Oh, something's under me. Since, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, I had a squirrel trapped in my room. I've been very, I don't want to say scared, but yeah, I'm kind of terrified that, like, I'm gonna step on a squirrel, there's gonna be, like, a family of squirrels just falling through the ceiling. So much fun living in the nature. Alright, any suggestions? It doesn't look that scary, honestly, but yeah. So knight c3 is actually very well calculated, very well presented. I think so too. That's like you want to cover up the queen and at the same time you want to keep your diagonal open, so I like that. Alright, so after knight c3, black just played a6. I mean, honestly, black could have considered knight d5 or knight a5 or like bishop d6 and then bring like the knight around and bring this bishop. This one is one of my most favorites with bishop d6, but I think the idea of a6 is to play bishop d6, so I'm not nitpicking on it. And so Magnus played a very, very cool move. So white to move, what do you think white should do? I'll give you guys a minute because this move is not too hard, but it's a beautiful move, so it would be good if you guys could, take a minute and just see how things are. Squirrels are cheeky. I do not know what that means. I'm telling you, I keep looking at the difference between chipmunks and squirrel. I still don't know it. No, I clicked on the king to let you guys, make sure you guys remember to look for white's move. It's not kingish one. No. I think rook e1 is normal, but it's like, think of a Magnus move. Right now, is your queen doing anything here? No, it's not a king move, nope. Is your queen doing anything here? Is there a piece that you could improve? If you wanted to improve, bishop f4 is possible, rook e1 is possible. Those are fine moves. Knight e5 is also worth considering, but my biggest problem is knight d4, and your queen is kind of just on the way. So not knight e5. Is your queen doing anything useful here? Because if not, we gotta relocate it. What do we think? Also, I'm a very big fan of this cup. I've had it for a while, and I keep drinking in it, and I still like it. I think I like the blue color. Now, who knew? Yeah, exactly, Queen c1. Yeah, exactly. Queen c1. You might want to start considering doing stuff on h6. Yeah. And you can start thinking about knight e5, because knight e4 is no longer with tempo. So, Magnus finds a way to kind of make the most of this queen, and I agree, he does. What else? So, that's kind of one of the things to be cautious when you play this kind of h6 is something to be very cautious of, that potential takes. I think, yeah, I was thinking in US Champs, which was like oh my god, it was like 9 months ago. I could have had a full baby. Sorry, I've been studying too much. But no, like US Champs was like, what, 8 months, 9 months ago? And I think in the second round or third round, yeah, I had a game like this. I was playing Italian, and like my opponent had this setup that I sacrificed on, and I thought I had a good position, but I was wrong, and I got into some real mess, and I managed to escape it, and I got advantage, and of course I blew it, so the game ended in a draw. In a good old-fashioned manner, she wins, and then, well, draw. Yeah, so this is a target. Take that target seriously, and if you haven't watched game analysis that I played in US Championship, feel free to check those out. They were both on Twitch and YouTube. I think on YouTube I did my most favorite ones. Alright, yeah, so h6 is a clear target. So how do you think Magnus should do it? He can't exactly defend this right now, so best he could do is move the rook around and try to defend it from under. So, oh, Karpov kind of move. I agree, yeah, he does. Karpov is a big... Yeah, I can think of different games of Karpov's that he just maneuvered around on his first rank. But I like this rook e8. Rook e8, ideally I would want this rook to be in a more active position, like either, you know, out here doubled up or like a d file. But at the moment this should do, and if I get the chance to play e5, even better. So, opponent played rook f1, Magnus played rook f1 too, bishop f8, and finally white plays bishop f4. So this game, so far, Magnus has better development, better piece coordination, better piece activity, better structure. The only thing is like potential for isolated pawn targets in the future. His isolated pawn being targeted in the future. There you go, that's the right grammar on that sentence. So what do you think black should do now? The rook over here could become interesting, but how? Black to move. What do you think we should do? I'm not a fan of knight h5s. Knight h5s just kind of, the bishop is already defended with the queen, so I'm not exactly attacking anything that serious. b5, there we go. Yeah, b5. And you want to push b4. We move b4. Take, and Magnus played knight e5. So, now, should we eat this bishop? And another question, if taking this bishop is good, well, why didn't Magnus just move this bishop away the last one? Right? He could have easily done that. Yes, it is good to take it over here, and yes, it would have been interesting if you just moved it away. If you just move it away, then I'm gonna come after this bishop. And this bishop is more important than this bishop in this attack, which I know is kind of weird to say, but the dark squared bishop is currently more important than the light squared bishop, because this is kind of making this coordination with the queen. Yeah. So we don't exactly, so black is more comfortable in this position, and for those of you who are not very comfortable with how to play against isolated pawn, you block it. You put a knight in front of it and you say yay, and then you go drink some tea. But yeah, basically isolated pawns are there to be blocked. If you can block it, you can start attacking it, you can target it. There are like 3 squirrels in my backyard staring at my cat. My cat is not food for squirrels. This is so weird. Why are they looking at him? Now I'm a little scared. I want to wake him up and make sure nobody's making dinner plans for my cat. Alright, yeah. So, bishop e1 is fine, but knight e5 is much more Magnus. Yep. Because if it was me, the first thing I would want to do is just run away with the bishop. I want to keep my bishop. I don't necessarily want to give dinner to my opponent's knight. Yeah. So, knight e5 was played, and after knight e5, take, and now what do you think black should do? There are a few ideas. One of them is bishop... Whoa. Oh my god. One of them is this with bishop b5. One of them could be just to ignore that side and let the bishop stay. I kind of think bishop b5 is worth considering, but it's not the move that Nepo played. What do you think Nepo played? But just loses a pawn, kind of. Not exactly. So if you play this bishop b5, take, you get to win the d5 square, And that's very important because this is completely no danger for black. The knight on d5 is basically holding everything together. This is a super knight, and you're gonna get your bishop out of here next move. Yeah. So this extra pawn is just a target. It's not exactly an advantage at this moment. So bishop b5 is interesting, but it kind of also simplifies the position too much. Oh, I have a cool question about how do I know which bishop is more valuable? Well, that's a good question, especially because the light squared bishop right behind the pawn seems to have more room, right? But in this specific position, this bishop is more important because it's participating in attack and it's also participating in blocking this other diagonal for opponent's bishop. So because your bishop is making my bishop more miserable, that's kind of the way to think about it, because, well, one of the other things that we usually talk about in our lessons is how to make opponents more uncomfortable. So that's kind of the basis of the psychology that I like. Oh, that's actually a good question. Yeah, so we are trying to not only advance our position, but make opponent's position more uncomfortable as we do improve our position too. And which bishop makes opponent's position more uncomfortable? Well, this bishop right now. This bishop. This bishop, the f4 bishop, makes it more uncomfortable because the other little issue is that in the other line, if you just save this bishop, you give your opponent enough chance to come and start poking your bishop and win the d5 square. When in this line, opponent has to waste another move and then start to think, okay, should I play bishop b5 now? It kind of buys you more time as white to have to deal with the upcoming blockade of the pawn. Mimi, I don't understand your question. I thought it was onions, but I guess apples work too. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. Sometimes it's a little harder to explain what these big guys do. That's why we have a super commentary team to sit there and talk about the games live for like 6 hours or so. Yeah. Alright, so in the game 95, take, and Nepo just played this a5. I think a5 is another way to just try to do stuff in the queen side, because we thought about bishop b5, and bishop b5 is fine, but it kind of simplifies the position too bad. Alright, so a5, and Carlsen just went to queen f3. I love this move. I think it's such a cool move. You are, again, not directly threatening anything, but you're definitely stopping this knight d5s. You're stopping any like bishop c6 ideas. No more bishop b5. You're just putting pressure on the opponent again. So that's like one way to think about it. It's like which way puts more pressure on the opponent, and this queen f3 puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. This is a useless bishop. You can't exactly move this bishop with happiness. And yeah, actually, while I said that, opponent here, Nepo, played bishop b4. Bishop b4 is a mistake. Can you tell me why? And when you tell me why, you can tell me what happens. What do you think is the best move instead of bishop b4? So I have two questions for you. Why is bishop b4 bad? So please tell me a line. So how can white use this bishop b4? And what do you think should have happened instead of bishop b4? So what do you think should have happened instead of this bishop b4? Yeah, bishop h6 is the first thing that comes to mind. But let's say bishop h6 just pawn takes, then what? Not exactly. So bishop h6 is the way to go, but if you were to take it, the problem is not taking here, The problem is something else. The problem is how this queen and this knight are working together on the f7 square. How can we use that? No, the queen is not overloaded, because if you take it, just takes back with the knight. So that's not the problem. The problem is knight e4. Going after this knight. If you move it, then queen takes over here, knight g6, and bye-bye. That's checkmate. So you can't exactly do that either. So yeah, that's a very cool critical position of it. And if you just bring the bishop back, I can definitely either play, just bring the rook up and want to give you checks, or I can just go d5. All in. Yeah. Good, great. I'm seeing that the chat is also warming up to this attack idea. So after take, the best way to continue would be to take here, take back, and then take this, check, and king would move away. If king f8, this actually is a bad idea. What do you think white can do after king f8? Exactly. So that's why we start with bishop c3. But king f8 is wrong. Can you tell me what's the best move that white can do after king f8? We need to bring in more pieces. How? Nah, queen h4 is not exactly the right way. We gotta bring in other stuff. Ooh, Pishi saw the squirrel. And he is awake. If you're lucky, okay, he's getting closer. Pishi's right here now. But he's too fascinated with the squirrel, so I don't know if you're gonna get a cat. Yeah, rook d3, exactly. If you try to run, boom. If you try to run, just d5. The center is too mobile. And if you try to just, I don't know, develop it or take over squares, again, now I can, again, use my queen and bring the rook behind it, and this is going to be the end. d5 also coming up. Don't forget about d5. So king f8's not the move. What about king h7? Now what do you think white's gonna do? Rook d3 is much more convenient than rook e3. Your rook on e file is doing something. Your rook on d file is not exactly. If knight d5, we can take a quick look at it, sure. So we talked about king f8, and there's a question: what's the difference between rook e3 and rook d3? Rook e3. Oh, I was thinking maybe this knight can do something, but apparently bishop. Maybe bishop c6, or even bishop like a4 to gain more tempo and try and open up some routes for the king. That would be interesting. Yeah, I wasn't considering bishop a4 initially, but yeah, that could be an interesting difference, because now if you play like bishop b5, you're just kind of pushing me. But if I'm playing rook e3 and then you bring your bishop up, rook f3 is not exactly, you're not really pushing me anymore, because I'm just kind of giving you a bunch of pieces. And black has enough pieces to have a tiny advantage in this line. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to give up free stuff. We want to sacrifice stuff. We don't want to just give it up for no reason. Alright, so king h7. Now, what should we do? Yeah, so we already sacrificed this bishop. How can we make better use of it as white? Yeah, as white. Yep, take this free stuff. And we can bring the queen, throw in the check, and keep the knight safe. Next, we're gonna bring the rooks. Or first throw in the check, and we don't want to exchange. I kind of like this knight g6 idea. And then queen g5. Yeah, and if you try to chase me, fine, and I'll eventually eat over here. And this is a much more convenient position for white. White just has a load of pawns. Yeah, this is too comfortable for white. Alright, yeah, this was a long line. Again, nobody's gonna be able to see every single move. It was like, what, 10 move here? Yeah, this was like 12 moves. So you're not going to be able to see exactly what's going to happen. You can have an idea about it, but as I believe, as long as you see this line, down until knight f3, and you see this check, it's good enough. You can go for it. Because if you try to, like, even if you see up until this position, you know that you at least have 2 pawns for the bishop that you gave up. You have mobile center, and you can bring up your rook, and you still have that knight and queen that are super active. So you don't have to worry about how to continue the attack as long as you know that the attack exists. And thank you for subscriptions. So there we go. You have that. Oh, that was a long line. And finally, bishop b4 is a mistake that Magnus did not use. He didn't just take on bishop h6. He should have done bishop h6. He didn't. So what does this teach us? You can mess up. It's okay to mess up a little bit. You don't not necessarily go blunder around, but it's fine to mess up. One mess up, 2 mess up doesn't necessarily mean that you're definitely going to lose. Yes, if Magnus saw bishop h6 and if Magnus decided to play bishop h6, he would have had a more pleasant position. But even the world champion can mess up and not exactly use the opportunities that he was given. So you don't have to play perfect games, you just have to play knowing games. You have to make sure to know your opponents. And I don't mean kick him under the table. Even in online games, you can't even do that. In online games, I've seen that people just chat, and I don't get that. I always disable the chat. I mean, I don't want to hear from you. The best I can give you is a hello, good luck. That's it. I don't want to sit there and chat, oh, you should have done that, you should have done this. No, I'm there for the blood. Okay, maybe not blood, but the rating points. And the win. Maybe I should stop talking. If my opponents start going missing, oh boy. Alright. Alright, so instead of bishop b4, the best move that black should have done was not bishop b4. It was queen e7, and you should, like, black should have done this, like, slowly. If you try to take it, I'll take it to the knight. Sorry. If you try to be cute about it, I'll just move this knight away and I'll just take back. It's a balanced position. You don't have to worry too much about it. So, yeah, queen e7, it's a weird move, I agree. But even if you don't want to play queen e7, just a4. You gotta do something. Bishop b4 is not the answer. This bishop is here defending everything. So, Magnus didn't take on h6, he just played rook e3. I mean, obviously he saw bishop h6. I don't know why he didn't play it, honestly, and I don't think I can just email him and ask, but he didn't take it, which is fine. He's not exactly the end of the world. Bishop h6 would grant him easier game and advantage, but it wasn't like a winning move. It was an advantageous move. Yeah, we're trying to go for the G file. So, in the game, take, and they kind of, that was like a positional transformation, right? We changed the pawn structure, and it does favor white a little bit. So, because there are a bunch of threats in the king side and the c4, d5 ideas with the pawns. So, black to move, how do you think we can activate our pieces? We need to activate these pieces. We need these pieces to be activated. What do you think we should do? While you think what black should do, I'm gonna tell you a tiny story. So in the interviews that the interviewer were having with the players, I don't remember who was there, but I think Maurice was in London 2017 for this, so he might have been the one who interviewed. I'm not sure, but well, anyways, in an after game interview, Magnus said that he failed to predict a single one of Nepo's moves, which is kind of weird because Magnus is usually good at predicting moves and like reading the opponent, but in this case he was not in this game. So I'm not entirely sure if he was having a bad day or whatever. Ah, okay, that actually does explain it. If he had a little cold, that could explain it. Yeah, physical illness, even a little one, or mental illness, those can just drain you. I've experienced it myself, but just whoa, yeah. So knight d5 could be interesting, but the issue is exactly take, and this is not exactly pleasant. So keep the knight where it is. What about the bishop? Can we do anything with this guy? Pishi? Oh, I have a cat under the table who just sneezed. Uh-oh. Exactly, bishop a4. Let's go. Get this bishop activated. The rook moves, and now what do we do? To be fair, rook c1 would have been better. Rook c1, you have to be cautious. Does queen d4 work? Because you can't exactly take it, you know. Oopsie daisy. So, does queen d4 work after rook c1? What do you think? Because if queen d4 works, that explains why Magnus didn't play rook c1. Does it work? While I'm waiting for you guys to answer that question, the big idea after bishop a4 is to try and play bishop c2 and cover up around here. So, rook c1, queen d4, it actually does not work. It's not because of bishop h6. Well, I mean, does it work? Like, is it a good move? Because if he takes, then that's checkmate. Well, that's what I mean by work, honestly. But that's not exactly how it's gonna go. Bishop h6 does deserve a little attention, but that's not the best one either. How about, yeah, exactly, rook a1, simple attacks. Keep it classy. And if you try to take over here, bishop h6, and now you have a big issue. So, whoops, I just hit the microphone. So yeah, that's one of the reasons queen d4 does not work. White has definitive advantage. So rook c1, what do you think should happen after rook c1? What do you think? So yeah, I kind of like the rook e7 suggestion, maybe move the bishop suggestion, but the best one is we ultimately, the biggest thing we want to do is knight d5. But we can't do that just yet because of the f7 pawn. So I like this rook e7 idea to try and cover it up, but rook e7, it can has its own issues because it kind of stops, it severs the connection, that's the right word. It severs the connection, so taking could happen, and then, you know, you just lose a pawn and your king is about to, in Farsi I would say kalle pashe, like gets upside down, and then you make the king upside down and you shake it for the coins. I don't know if that's a good representation of what I have in mind, but yeah, basically. So the king is about to go down in the gutter. I think that's the American oh my god, I'm feeling way too many English language like stuff. I've been doing passages all day, and I've been reading two different too much art stuff. Yeah, not fun. I'm not the biggest fan of arts, reading about arts and History is fine, literature is okay, but if it's boring, if I can't understand half of the words that are on the English part of it, it's not fun. Okay, so yeah, instead of bishop rook e7, just go rook f8. Keep it classy. Yeah. Oh, taking a beating, take a beating. Yeah, that would actually be what I meant. That would be a better representation of what I've meant. Yeah. So rook f8 is a good idea too because, well, that's actually the best idea. You stop the stuff that's going to happen on f7, and next you just want to do knight d5. So rook f8 is the best way to go about it, and if you try to, still hold hopes for knight d5, c4, and you don't exactly need to worry too much about this knight because you can counterattack. Take that guy, and this is a very normal opening. This is a very normal position. The central pawns are kind of cancel out this awkward pawn structure that black has got going. So white has like a tiny advantage, but it's nothing to be super scared of. You still have a decent bishop if you can activate it. You can consider exchanging the queens. That would be a good idea. So beer, underage beer. Whoa, that's a good username. Yeah, the issue with queen d4 was not the fact that he could take it. It was that first of all bishop h6, second of all rook a1. The rook a1 is a real issue because well, how are you going to get away with it? Your queen is under attack. You can't move the queen anywhere without losing the bishop. Dan Spike, my mic is good. My laptop is the one that's making the little funny noises. I think the mic is too good. It picks up all the little noises. Ha. Yeah. Yep, basically, that's a big problem. That you just lose the bishop. Alright, so bishop c3 take, and Magnus just went for rook a1. We follow, oh not we, Nepo followed it with nice bishop c2. That was kind of the original idea, to relocate the bishop, right? Now, I still don't understand why Magnus played h3, but the fact that he had a common cold might actually explain that. Yeah, I don't really understand h3. This is a... you might want to bring your rooks over here, so h3, I don't get it. But now black could actually play knight d5. Now, knight d5, you gotta be careful because you have to understand the worries about bishop h6. But if bishop h6, black could not, doesn't have to take it. You can just get the queen out. But I'm not very comfortable with this. I don't really want to get myself in a position that I have to do so much calculations about, am I gonna get mated or not? Well, can I just avoid the problem by not giving my opponent the chance to try to checkmate me? Because that would be ideal for me. I don't wanna do this. I think something like a4 might be a little bit more chill. Just keep it classy. Just make sure everything is protected, and given the chance, yes, try to protect f7 and then, and only then, do this knight d5. That's what I would go for. And Nepo played bishop f5, which was not very smart because of this g4. And now what are you going to do with your bishop? He put his bishop on h7, which, well, the bishop seems like it's kind of covering the king and has a decent diagonal, right? But it's not exactly the truth because it's not really helping out. And this gave white the chance to want to play g5 or c4, and Magnus didn't play g5. That was kind of the funny part about it, because usually when you're playing the world champion and you give him one chance, he's gonna just make sure you never give him another chance again. So you don't want to give the world champion a chance to get his pieces disactivated, and this would be the second mistake that Nepo made. However, in this game, he was lucky. He didn't really get punished at all because he won the game, but he didn't get punished for this mistake that he made. His first mistake was the bishop b4 idea, and the second one was getting the bishop back to f5. Yeah. Um. Exactly, grade 12. That's another good point. If you were gonna play bishop h7 from the beginning, why would you give white the g4? I completely agree with that. So g5 now would be the best idea, and then boom, knight f7, and this would actually leave black with the real issues. White does have, I want to say at least um, advan White has good advantage. It might not, it's not winning advantage, but it's like plus one, 1.5. So it's good enough, good enough for Magnus to bring more pressure and won't let you forget what you just did. Yeah. So g5 would be the best one, but he went for c4, and now Nepo started to actually play a little bit better. He went for knight d7, and this knight c6 again doesn't really make much sense. So I'm gonna have to put this loss on Magnus's cold and just say that he had a cold. What to do? Yeah, so c5 is the way to go, because c5 you are making sure that your pass pawn is actually passed pawn, and at the same time, if take, now this f6 and ideas, it's okay because you had this bishop is kind of protecting the king, but you're like, just look at this position. White's position is just completely just pushing and just making sure you can't breathe. Yeah. Oh, I got a cat on the table. Alright, so, knight c6, again, a tiny mistake. Inaccuracy, it's not a blunder, it's definitely an inaccuracy, which Nepo saw, and he just went for the good move, good idea. Make sure to keep the queen pinned. Losing that pawn doesn't matter as much, because now this is another target. And now Magnus made the wrong move and played c5. c5 makes no sense, because this is a pin. This is a blunder. Because if you play this, I will simply just take that, right? It's a blunder. And that's not a very fun thing for Magnus to deal with. So he took this, and again, this makes not much sense, because the best way to deal with it is like, okay, I made a mistake, I gave up the pawn that I had. It's okay, let's just make the most out of it and just exchange the queens, accept that you made a mistake, and just kind of accept that this is going to be unpleasant, but most likely still decent fighting chances. But he didn't, and he just took and just gave black an extra pawn as well. And the fun part was he didn't even take it over here, because if he took, white is having, oh, thank you for the subscription. White is having a very unpleasant position, and then it's a pawn down, but it's not the end of the world. He's not lost yet. But the way that white played it with queen c6, this is a blunder. Whoops. Now, what do you think black is gonna do? Black to move, what to do? And while you guys do that, I'm gonna double check on the chat, see what I missed. What did I miss? Ah, yeah. The little, yeah, it does look like he gave up. My little, that's not exactly Arabic, that's Farsi. We have, we have the, we have similar alphabet, Farsi and Arabic, but this is the translation. Farsi means June. This is not Arabic. And June, the translation of Farsi to English, I think Armenians also do say June or John, means deer. Yeah, like it was supposed to be like a funny dear Magnus. This one you kind of messed up. Yeah, it's okay. Alright, so queen c6, queen a4, exactly, thank you. Queen a4, and now you are forking the bishop and the queen, and this is a full piece. This is completely lost for white. Here, white played queen a4, and you take back, and just played c6, but this is completely lost. All you have to do is just make sure to stop the pawn pushing and just put your knight in c8 and don't even bother with this. Yeah. And that's actually how Nepo saved this game. Nepo was worse most of the middle game, and he made mistakes too, but Magnus was ultimately the one who didn't use his Nepo's mistakes, and he made the final mistake. So I guess what you can learn from this, the psychology part of it, is what I've always been talking about. Piece activity, piece activity, piece activity. That's a big thing that you need in chess. Besides piece activity and besides good calculation, you also need to be able to make your opponent miserable. You gotta make your opponent miserable. You can't just play good moves. You gotta play annoying moves. You gotta make them, I was gonna say regret they were born, but that's a little too mean. But you gotta make them uncomfortable, to say the least. And on another note, in order to actually win a great game, and especially win world champion or win tournaments, in order to win most things in your life, not just hard work, you need luck. Luck, you need it. I know I need it when I win something. I know I need it when I take an exam. I know I need it when I have a good day. Luck has a big part. So it's not just good chess. It's even if you're a great chess player, you could make mistakes. You could have a bad day. You could have a common cold like Magnus had here, and you could lose. It's okay. It's not about winning every single game. So, I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully I didn't really tank your inspirations and everything. This was a fun game for me because I always like it when world champions make mistakes and they lose because it gives me the hope that I can beat them one day too. And yeah, so we're gonna take a short recess. I'm gonna say about 5 to 7 minutes recess. Well, I guess break. And we're gonna do switch to Twitch. So we're gonna go stream on Twitch. I want to analyze your games, so please make sure to have games ready and send them to me on Lichess format, Lichess link in the Twitch chat. So make sure to have all your games ready and meet me on Twitch in about 5-7 minutes. I'm just gonna make some changes on the computer and refill my tea. Alright, great. I'll see you guys shortly on our Twitch channel.